Hi, hello, and welcome to NeuroSavvy Live. I am your host, speaker, consultant, Keyshawn Hughes, and I'm founder of NeuroSavvy Leadership, an organization that I established 5 years ago to help people feel healthier and happier at work, utilizing neuroscience-based principles and applications. Neuroscience is something that I found and came into on my own as I was recovering from burnout, working in corporate spaces as a high achiever, a senior leader, and I experienced burnout. And from there, I went on the path of discovery, looking for tools that were evidence-based, that were practical and solution-oriented, and provided more ease, peace, a sense of power and empowerment for me, helping me to grow into the leader I am now and the leader I'm continuing to grow into be. So once I found the kind of information that I'm sharing with you and that I share with you through NeuroSavvy Leadership, I couldn't keep it to myself. It was too good to keep to myself. Okay. And so today I'm going to talk about conflict management. The last time I was here, I was talking about communication practices and ways to move out of having anxiety when giving feedback to feeling more empowered and confident, secure and clear, and aligned with your purpose and intention for conversation and communication. That's so important in the workplace and every day. I find the practices and the topics that I talk about, I not only practice them and apply them and experiment with them at work in work settings, I also do it in my home life. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm many roles, and I'm sure many of you can relate to. And I utilize these principles and practices in my own life in ways that help me feel healthy and happy most of the time. But like I'll talk about today, there is a part of us, a part of every human being where we're on a roller coaster. We're not always at our best. And hopefully, some of the strategies that I talk about today will help you become more aware of what those are, have you a way to label them, and then a way to move away from them, navigate out of them into a different level of being, a different level of comfort when it relates to managing conflict. Today, the topic is your brain on conflict, mastering the GRACE Reflex. Mastering the GRACE Reflex. Now, what is the GRACE Reflex? I'll get into that and tell you what that is as we talk. It's an acronym and a methodology that I created through NeuroSavvy Leadership. It's trademarked to talk about ways when you're at work and you're having a difficult conversation and you're in conflict. What are you noticing in others? And what are you noticing in you that can help you all move to a good end, that can help you resolve conflict, that can help you get on the same page, that'll help you move work along? Because how often are we at work and things are stagnant? And not only are they stagnant, they're tense, they're uncomfortable, we don't like it, we avoid it, or we gossip about it, or we vent to our partner or our family members or our friends about it ad nauseum with no end. It seems like there's no solution to it. It's always the ocean that we swim in, an ocean of conflict, an ocean of tension, discomfort, displeasure, with a place where we spend most of our time, most of our waking hours are at work. And so, like I said, my goal, my mission is to help you feel happy and healthy there, because it's very unhealthy to be in those kinds of environments for prolonged time. It's unhealthy to be in your own body, which is also in an environment when it's always feeling tense, anxious, annoyed, angry, upset about things that are happening in your life, particularly at work. So your brain on conflict, mastering the GRACE Reflex. Before I get into that, I just want to talk about a few statistics that I found in researching for this topic. Some researchers at Gartner named employee conflict resolution as a must-have skill for managers. They cited they had a 2023 survey that found that 57% of managers say they are fully responsible for managing and resolving team conflicts. So raise your hand if you're a manager yourself and you have a team. I coach a lot of leaders who have teams and they are managing conflict. They're very interpersonal. So there are different types of conflicts you'll find, dyads, subgroups, There's science to even conflicts and how they spring up at work. The type of conflict I'm going to talk about today is the type of conflict you find yourself in. So more interpersonal between you and a colleague, whether you are the leader, the manager, and you are having conflict with one of your direct reports, an employee, whether you're an employee having a conflict with your peer or a cross-functional partner. These are the types of conflicts that I'll be talking about and that I coach leaders about. So another study, just one other statistic. In one study, 94% of the respondents said they had worked with a toxic person in the previous 5 years. So we're going to talk about ways to navigate conflict, but not necessarily how to not navigate toxic culture and toxic personalities. These methods may work, but if you find yourself needing more intensive support, please reach out to me. Reach out to me at NeuroSavvy Leadership. You can find me at Be NeuroSavvy on Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn at Keyshawn Hughes, my name, or NeuroSavvy Leadership. You can also find the NeuroSavvy Leadership page on YouTube. So wherever you're picking this up from, some people are on Facebook, some people are on YouTube, LinkedIn, just type in Keyshawn Hughes, I should come up, or NeuroSavvy Leadership, it should come up too. So if you are dealing with a toxic workplace where you are working for a toxic leader or very toxic cross-functional partners, toxic meaning it's hard to go to work. It's you dread it. You dread going, you dread being there. You just don't feel like you are making progress, being respected, being heard. The people you work with talk to you in a way that feels disrespectful. You don't feel valued either within the organization, the team, or the dynamic you're within. That's another category. What we're talking about, where you can still have those feelings of distress, deep distress, when dealing with interpersonal conflict. These are the kinds we want you to try these tools first before seeking more help, more intensive help. So I coach leaders in a group coaching setting. I coach them individually. I run trainings and workshops through my organization, NeuroSavvy Leadership. We provide that kind of support and these type of tools that I'll be sharing with you today to help you navigate situations like that, to help teams work more effectively, to move work faster, to not be stagnant. There's a leader that I'm coaching at this time where there is an initiative within the organization that he is leading, that he came into leading. He wasn't always the lead on this initiative, and it's been going on for 4 years. They have not come to a good end. They are spinning their wheels. There is an internal conflict about this. And we coach through that. I give him strategies. I share effective ways of communicating, leading, organizing, delegating, and there is some movement for it. So fingers crossed, by the end of our time coaching, or at least by the end of this fiscal year, that project will have launched. That's the prayer. That's the hope, right? So that's the type of work that I do with leaders, like I said, one-on-one, within groups, teams, or within the organization as a whole, providing these tools and methods that I'll talk about today. So the GRACE Reflex, I call it a reflex because these are our default ways of responding to tension, our default ways to responding to discomfort, to being in a conversation, an argument, maybe a healthy debate. Our body and our brain and our nervous system are going to respond in ways, one of 5 ways that all nervous systems are designed to respond in. Let me know as I talk through each one. And like I said, GRACE is an acronym. There's a word and a response for each letter. Think about your primary one. What way do you typically respond to conflict or to an argument or to a disagreement? What's your go-to response? And then think of your primary one, and then think of your secondary one that you kind of do sometimes, not all the time, but these are your go-to places that you go to within your body and nervous system when you are in conflict, when you are having a tense conversation. The first one, G, the G in GRACE, ghost. Deuces, I'm out. I don't have to be here. I'm picking up my stuff and going home. It's making me think of Everybody Hates Chris, the mom on that show. She was like, my husband got 2 jobs. I don't got to do this. I don't have to be here. I'm out. Do you find yourself ghosting conversations, leaving a lot of time in between one conversation and the next because you just don't have the energy for it? You're tired. You're exhausted. You're over it. These are the things, these are the practices people do when they ghost. The G could also mean you go around. Story time. I once worked with an executive leader who came to me for leadership coaching, and we did great work together. And through our coaching, we realized that one, he was burned out, and two, one of the main reasons why he was burned out is because he would always go around challenges and conflicts instead of moving in a more direct, engaging manager, bringing people along with him. He would do too much. He would go around the issue, build up processes, and do extra work to get around the issue to come to a good end. And he was tired. He was burned out from that. And so if you are a person where your primary response is ghost, or you go around the issue instead of dealing with the issue, put a G in the comments. Hi, Christy. I'm so happy that you're joining. Hello from Florida. Well, hello from ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you get something from this conversation. If you have a question, please put it in the comments and I'll respond to it and see what we can do together. See how we can move through the GRACE Reflex in a way that'll help you be more successful when it comes to managing conflict. So that's G, ghost, or you go around. The R is rebel, or you make a rival. It's time to fight. I'm thinking nuck if you buck. That's what comes to mind for me, right? So I can find myself, or in my memory, when I go into my memory bank, thinking of so often when I'm typically on the further end of this, but a time when I just, once again, had enough, or there's something that's really important to me. I also want to say these places that we go to in our nervous system and brain and in our bodies and in our behaviors, they're for our safety. Sometimes we need to go somebody. Sometimes we need to go around an issue. We don't need to address it right on that moment or in that moment. Sometimes we need to stand up and we need to rebel and take a stand, right? People who don't stand for anything will fall for anything, right? So we have to stand for something or fall for anything. So sometimes at work, there is a platform that you have that is important to the team, important to the organization, important to you, important to the KPIs that have been set for you, or OKRs, or whatever term your organization uses to manage your performance or to assess your performance. Sometimes you have to speak up and take a stand, and a fight response can come up in you. There's actually a part of your brain and nervous system that goes into fight mode. You start to release adrenaline and cortisol, and it primes your limbs to move toward whatever it is that you are fighting for. Move towards it, to take a stand. You'll even sometimes notice in your body where your feet are planted. Your feet are planted. You are locked in. And so you want to win at all costs. You demand control, and you are creating rivals. That could be a choice. That could be a place that you possibly find yourself in too often. If you're always fighting, I was like, I'm always fighting for the good. It could be for a good end. I'm thinking about social justice movements. Our organizers and just social justice leaders get tired because they're always fighting. They're always standing up. They're always rebelling in a good way. And that can be taxing on our nervous systems. That can also lead to burnout over time or other negative effects for our health and our own sense of happiness and peace. So think of that. So are you a rebel? Do you rebel? That's the R in GRACE. And the third one is accommodate. Do you find yourself being very accommodating, typically putting the needs of others, the needs of the team, the needs of the organization before your own needs? Too often. Sometimes this is necessary. This is necessary. We want to yield. We're trying to move ahead. We're trying to move forward. We want to coexist. Sometimes that's the best we can do, is just coexist. There is a reason and a time and a place where we need to be accommodating in our response to others, especially at work. So picking and choosing your battles, even being less of you and propping up the person or the initiative more so than yourself and your own needs, can be done and should be done at times. But it's something that you should think about if that's your primary way of managing conflict. If you're accommodating, you're activating the 10 befriend response within your brain and nervous system, which is helpful for social engagement. You're actually activating a whole lot of social networks and neural networks in your brain to be social, to make a friend, to tend to someone's needs, but you're also in distress. So you're also releasing cortisol and adrenaline, and this can tap people out. If you're too accommodating or people pleasing too often, when are your needs being met? When is your voice being heard? When is what you want to get pushed forward and work towards prioritized? Those are some questions to answer for yourself and to think about. So that's accommodate. That's the A in GRACE. Then we have compromise. You meet in the middle. You meet in the middle. You don't necessarily get a full win, like you lose a little bit, but you gain some. And a lot of times we do have to compromise. Maybe that's seen as it's not a fully satisfactory into an initiative or to the work that you're doing, but it's enough to keep us moving forward. It moves us out of stagnation, and it actually activates risk and reward networks within our brain and nervous system. So we're weighing the pros and the cons. We're weighing the risks of not moving forward, the risks of saying this thing in this meeting to this person in this way, the risks of not doing it, what rewards come for them and for me. If we do move and converse in a certain way, that's something to think about. The C, that's compromise. And lastly, E for engage. You're collaborative. Typically, even within your brain and nervous system, you are operating from the frontmost part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is visionary, it's creative. You are producing oxytocin and serotonin. A lot of feel-good neurochemicals are coursing through your veins and body. You're in it for the long haul. You're being strategic, intentional. It's tied to your purpose. You're operating in a way where you're engaged, they're engaged, and we're having a win-win-win result. You're a winner internally, externally. The person you're engaging with in this conflict, in the conflict you want to resolve, comes away with the win. And then also the team wins as a whole. Your clients win on the other end. The organization wins, being engaged. And this is what organizations want. They want engaged employees. And because studies show people who are engaged are more likely to stay in the organization, more likely to be successful, help make more revenue for the company, and increase the bottom line. And when we're making money for the company, we're making money for ourselves. So we're aiding in our own thriving, not only surviving and getting through, we are thriving. So Christy says she operates in the G state mode. She ghosts or she goes around the issue. Well, that's a very human and natural response, but you don't have to stay there. So if you want some support in how to move through that, how to move beyond the ghost response or the going around the issue response, reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you. There are assessments that I have, and through coaching or through other consulting, if you need me to come into your organization and do a training or a workshop, I'm happy to do that. The GRACE Reflex, and talk about what that is. And so where does the grace come in? So if we are ghosting people and we're rebelling and being a rebel or creating rivals or being too accommodating, where's the grace in that? Well, the grace comes in when you are able to see yourself clearly. You're able to have a way to frame your behaviors and your actions. You can give yourself a break. You realize this is human. This is not just me messing up and doing this. This is the human experience. This is not something that is wrong with me. This is the way my brain is responding to protect me, to help me. And my brain is neuroplastic, meaning it can change. The more I learn, the more I work through challenges, the stronger my brain becomes and the stronger my behaviors come. Chrissy says, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad that this is helpful for you because this information was helpful for me. Because so often when we've been in a pattern of behavior or we see our lives in a certain way and we feel limited or stuck, it can feel like we've tried everything and things aren't moving. Change isn't happening in the way that I want it to happen or that I've been told it could happen. But these are normal ways of existing in the human experience. And our brains are built to change. Our brains and bodies are built to transform. And when we have knowledge and put the knowledge into practice, we can get great results. I'm a testimony to that. I'm a testament to that. And so what are some things you can do outside of just working with me directly and getting some more specific support when it comes to like coaching or consulting support when it comes to moving through and understanding your GRACE reflex in yourself and others? What are some takeaways that you can think about when it comes to taking care of yourself and showing up happier and healthier at work and getting better results? Number one, become more comfortable with, well, I'll just start here. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. So a lot of times we want to say that, oh, I'm the E. I'm engaging. Like I engage people. I try to cross the aisle and make amends and support and show up in a certain way. So something recently I recognized in my own personal development work, I'm always working on myself. So a coach can only take you as far as that coach has gone themselves. I'm always doing the work. I have coaches, I have therapists, I have mentors, counselors, everything that I recommend for my clients to have, I have myself. And I do this work daily. And you can perceive yourself in a certain way, but self-awareness is holistic. There's a whole picture of who you are. And getting feedback from others can help you have a fuller picture of how you're operating. So being self-aware, understanding that no, you don't operate in the E often, you're more accommodating. You're more of an accommodating, people-pleasing type of person than someone who gets a win-win-win with most of your results and what you end up with. So that's something to come to terms with. Be honest with yourself about that. Don't beat yourself up. We cannot lie to ourselves. We can try though. Believe me, we can try, but numbers don't lie. Results don't lie. Patterns don't lie. So if things keep circling back over and over again, the same kind of situation, maybe you move from job to job to job, relationship to relationship to relationship, the common denominator is you. This is the locus of your control, you. So work on you. Work on you. And don't lie to yourself. It won't do you any good over the long haul. So that's number one. Number two, prioritize resolving the issue versus locking in on that person. So often we don't think about the greater issue or the greater challenge goal outside of the people that we are in dynamics with. You can probably hear yourself saying like, I don't want to join that call with so-and-so again. So-and-so is so A, B, C, and D. So then whatever you're meeting on, the initiative, the project, the work gets lost in you just focusing on so-and-so. So take your focus off of so-and-so and think about the work. And a way to do that is to move into your more analytical logic mind versus your emotional mind. The GRACE reflex is an emotional state of being that comes across in our behaviors, and it creates patterns that we can recognize and identify. So think about that. Just prioritize the work versus the person and locking in on them. Also become more comfortable with sharing perspective sharing. Become more comfortable with that. We all have different makeups. We have different backgrounds, different opinions, different skill sets. Every person is unique in their own way. No individual is the same as another. And so we all have value in our perspectives. And it can sometimes be very hard to believe, especially if someone that you're in conflict with is a toxic personality. Like I said, we're not going to go too into detail about that today, but someone that there is something very wrong and there is a dynamic that needs to be addressed even outside of you. If it's not that, if it's just something where you just get tired of having to push all the time, right? Just think about the other person's perspective. Think about the fact that they could potentially be feeling similar or the same way, and be willing to make space in your day, in your conversations, for hearing other people's perspectives and making sure your perspectives are heard. A very practical way to do this before you have a meeting or before you're meeting with someone is to request an agenda. Ask for an agenda. If you are the meeting leader, ensure you provide one ahead of time so people can prepare themselves and they'll see themselves or their time where they can put their perspective out there within the agenda, or they can make that request. Also, another practical tip, ask people to give you feedback on the agenda, or ask to give feedback or provide feedback on agendas. That is a really credible way of reducing conflict. When everyone has clarity about what we're coming together for, what the expectations are when we come together, and what the hopeful results are, what we hope to do on the other end. So a way to be practical about making sure perspectives are shared is to provide an agenda and to provide notes afterwards. And always ask for feedback to ensure that there is regular feedback that is provided. If you're in a space where you don't feel comfortable providing feedback, that could be a signal that there's not enough psychological safety, and that's a leadership challenge. And we do that work as NeuroSavvy leadership with organizations every day. We can help you all create more psychologically safe organizations. So lastly, just ensure that you are regulating your own emotions. Once again, we can't control others. We might be the fight mode. We might be the nuckify buck. We might try to. And some people are successful at that. I had a person that was in my life years ago who was just very honest and communicating with me that they didn't want to be involved in anything that they couldn't control. If they couldn't control it, they were likely not wanting to be involved with it. That was honest. Like I said, tip number one, be honest, right? So I was thankful that that person shared that honest statement with me so then I can make an assessment. Do I want to be in a dynamic with someone who prefers control, is not willing to share it? It's going to feel like a fight. It's going to feel like a fight. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm trying to be healthy and happy. So, and like I said earlier, when we're in a fight state, we can't be in a sustainable state of happiness or great health because we're always fighting. And our nervous systems, our brains, our bodies are releasing neurochemicals that wear us down over time. They affect our perception. They affect our results. They affect our behaviors. So thank you so much for listening today. You can go to my blog post. I'm going to put it in the chat. So there's more information on the GRACE Reflex, a neuroscience-based framework and model for moving through conflict. There's a little typo on there. I've been working so diligently to put this information out there. I have to make a little typo I have to fix a typo that's on the graphic that I created. So for me, like I said, the work is always being done. I am not a perfect work. I am also a work in progress. And I hope that you'll come along on the journey with me. And as you're on the journey, find yourself feeling healthier and happier and more successful. Are there any other questions before I log off today? Let me know. I'd love to stay in touch with you. Continue to follow me at Keyshawn Hughes on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and also LinkedIn and NeuroSavvy Leadership as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week. We'll see you again soon. Bye.